Welcome to Kidmissing TV. I am your host, Angelina Wilson. This is the case of Dorothy Arnold. She disappeared on December 12th, 1910, which happened to be my grandfather's 10th birthday. Her father was a fine goods importer. She was born and raised in an affluent Manhattan family. She went to Bryn Mawr College. She left her home to go shopping on that day for a dress and was seen by a cashier as well as a friend on Fifth Avenue. She told the friend that she had planned to walk through Central Park before returning home. That evening, when she failed to return home for dinner, her family was worried. Well, they used the word suspicious, which is weird. Her father didn't want publicity for her disappearance, so he hired a private investigator. Why in the world wouldn't you want publicity for your daughter's disappearance? I mean, your daughter was only 1985 would be 15? Yeah, 1885, no, 1910, 25. She was 25 years old. After these attempts proved fruitless, the family filed a missing persons report with the New York City, with the NYPD. In January of 1911, various theories, sightings, and rumors regarding her disappearance circulated in the years and decades that followed. Yeah, how about a millennia? Anyway. Okay, she had between $25 and $30 cash in her possession. Oh, good, I don't have to go ahead and do the math on a calculator, which is approximately $785 to $942 in today's currency, in today's money, based on inflation and all that. That's a lot of money. She went to the Park and Tilford store. I'm going to say that must have been a high-end store to have that much money. Oh, she was all over the place that day. Okay. She went to Park and Tilford. She charged a half a pound of chocolates to her account at noon, placed it in her muff, and then walked 22 blocks, 1.4 miles, to Brentano's bookstore. She bought a book called Engaged Girl Sketches, a book of humorous essays by Emily Calvin Blake. She ran into a friend named Gladys King outside of the bookstore. I like that they know her movements. King recalled that the two spoke briefly about Marjorie's upcoming debutante party. Who the hell is Marjorie? And that Arnold seemed to be in good spirits. Then King went off to meet her mother for lunch at the Waldorf Astoria. Yeah, debutante parties, Waldorf Astoria. Yeah, these people weren't your average Joes and Janes. And nobody saw her shop for the dress, which is weird. When the lawyer / investigator came to the home, he discovered, that the only thing missing was the outfit she was wearing when he looked in her bedroom. He found personal letters with foreign postmarks in her desk, 2 folders for transatlantic ocean liners on the desk, and burned papers in the fireplace. Which were presumed to be rejected manuscripts. He visited jails, hospitals, and morgues in New York City, Philadelphia, and Boston, but did not find any signs of her. Then they hired the Pinkerton Detective Agency. Then they finally bothered to call the police. Police wanted to hold a press conference. He resisted, her father resisted, but eventually agreed. On January 25th, 1911, reporters gathered at his office, where he informed them of his daughter's disappearance and offered a $1,000 reward, approximately $31,000 today, for information leading to her whereabouts. Ooh. Reporters soon discovered that Francis's comment was in reference to, if it were possible that his daughter was still alive and had simply run away with a man, as he did not allow his daughter to date. Francis vehemently denied this, stating, "I would have been glad to see her associate more with young men than she did, especially some young men of brains and position. One whose profession or business would keep him occupied. I don't approve of young men who have nothing to do." And that's when reporters started digging, and they found George Griscom, Jr., a man Dorothy had met while attending Bryn Mawr, and with whom she was romantically involved. Griscom, who preferred to be called Junior, was a 30-year-old engineer who came from a wealthy Pennsylvania family with whom he still lived at the Kenmar Hotel in Pittsburgh. Reporters also discovered that in September of 1910, Arnold had lied to her parents and told them she was going to visit a former Bryn Mawr classmate in Boston. Instead, she spent a week in a hotel with Griscom. Arnold's parents found out about the rendezvous after Arnold pawned $500 worth of jewels to finance their week-long relationship. Their week-long stay. After returning home, Arnold's parents forbade her to continue the relationship because they found him unsuitable. They saw each other for a final time in November before he went on vacation with his parents. Okay, he was rich, she was rich. What was the problem? Was he not rich enough? Well, he was in Italy with his parents when she disappeared. He wanted to marry her on the condition that her mother approved the marriage, and her mother said she never would. San Francisco Chronicle, in the same month, which would be January, reported that hotel clerks at the hotel where Griscom was staying had seen a veiled woman they believed to be Arnold. They said that they had an earnest talk, whatever that means, and they couldn't hear what they were saying, but the woman seemed greatly agitated. How do you know that if she had a veil on? That's what I want to know. But Griscom, in the months after the disappearance, spent thousands of dollars for ads in major newspapers asking her to come home. If he had met up with her in San Francisco, why was he doing that? Doesn't add up. In early February of 1911, her father received a postcard signed Dorothy, bearing a New York City postmark that read, "I am safe." While the writing matched his daughter's, Francis said he believed that someone had copied her handwriting from samples that were featured in the newspaper, and the postcard was nothing more than a cruel joke. In San Francisco, a jeweler said a woman that he thought was Arnold asked her to inscribe a wedding ring on January 7th with the inscription, "To AJA from ERB." Well, that's not either of their initials. Hers are DA, or whatever. Wait a minute. I have her middle name right here. DHCA, because she was Dorothy Harriet Camille. And his was an ERB. So that couldn't be her. December 10th, 1910. And in fact, that was 2 days before she even disappeared. She disappeared on the 12th. So that's discounted right there. Because that's 2 days before she even disappeared. The NYPD stopped investigating because they believe she was dead. Huh. Okay, here are some theories. There was a theory or a rumor that she had slipped on an icy sidewalk, fell and hit her head, and was in the hospital with amnesia. Well, nobody in the hospital matched her description. So, they thought maybe she killed herself because Griscom's cousin had jumped off an ocean liner because he was forbade to marry an English governess. And a governess is a nanny. So it's not anybody important, which is probably why he wasn't allowed to marry her. And then one of the most widespread rumors was that she had become pregnant, had sought an abortion, and died during or after the botched procedure. And that gained some credibility when in early April 1916, an illegal abortion clinic operating out of the basement of a home in Bellevue, Pennsylvania, was raided by police. The clinic was run by Dr. C.C. Meredith and became notoriously known as the House of Mystery after numerous women from the area went missing after visiting the clinic. One of the doctors who worked at the clinic, Dr. H.E. Lutz, testified to the New York County District Attorney that Dr. Meredith told him that Arnold had died there after experiencing complications from an abortion. Dr. Lutz claimed that, like many of the women who had undergone abortions at the clinic and died, her body was burned in the furnace. Oh, and by the way, when I said she put the chocolate in her muff, those of you who don't know, a muff is a soft, furry thing that usually matches the coat, and they put their hands in it back in the day, and it was like their mittens. Okay. Edward Glenoris. 5 years after her disappearance, in April of 1916, a convicted felon named Edward Glenoris, who was in jail in Rhode Island for trying to extort somebody, claimed he was paid $250 to bury the body of a young woman in December of 1910. He claimed that an acquaintance known only as Little Louie hired him to drive a woman from a home in New Rochelle to West Point, New York. At the home in New Rochelle, Glenoris said he and Little Louie were met by two men, one of whom named Doc, and another whom Glenoris described as wealthy and well-dressed, which matched Griscom's physical description. They loaded the unconscious woman into the car, drove her to a house in Weehawken, New Jersey. During the drive, Glenoris said that Little Louie told him that the woman was Dorothy Arnold. She had a signet ring that he recognized. The woman had died during an operation at the home, they said, and they asked him to bury her back at the home in New Rochelle, in the cellar. New Rochelle is a nice neighborhood in New York City. It's an upscale neighborhood. Her father said, quote, "So far it appears on the face of the man's story he is talking utter nonsense." Well, yeah, they dug up the cellar and didn't find anything, so. For years there were numerous sightings. They said she was living as Ella Nevins in Los Angeles. The case gained attention again on April 8, 1921, when during a lecture in New York, Captain John H. Ayres of the Bureau of Missing Persons claimed that Dorothy Arnold's fate had been known to the Bureau and her family for some time. And the following day he said he was misquoted. Oh boy. Her father spent $250,000 trying to find her. In her mother's obituary, they talked about the search for her. They said, the really great search of the age, and one that did much to develop modern newspaper and newspaper police coverage. 2019, BuzzFeed Unsolved talked about the case. Obviously, there's no phone numbers. Yeah, the boyfriend was in Italy. So, this is a weird one, guys. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Truly a weird one. The next one is equally as weird, and I hope you'll join me for that. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you next time. Bye, guys. Please subscribe to both channels. We've got goals. Bye.